Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because they can, and they continue with Tyranny live. The Scarlet Chorus are getting decimated by the Edict of Storms. A gang of rain-soaked Scarlet Chorus trails behind Death Knell, a mixture of awe and confusion resting upon their faces. What foul trick are you playing, such that the weather comes to your aid? I should thank you for separating the wheat from the chaff. The sight of seeing dozens struck dead by lightning made for a good show to startle the dead weights. She points back behind her shoulder, leaving the bravest with the privilege of tearing off your limbs, one joint at a time. She turns to her soldiers and lets out a primal howl, her soldiers echoing the battle cry in dissonant tones. Many of the soldiers hesitate to move forward, their eyes transfixed on you, their legs shaking. Some appear to have soaked their pantaloons with wet stains of fear, others blinking away the tears of rising dread. Fools, did you not hear me proclaim the edict? Either I cast that edict by myself, or did so with the Overlord's blessing. Think that through very carefully. Do not liken yourself to the Overlord. Your magic may have startled my weaker troops, but your magic is nothing my own blood chanters could not affect. Isn't that right? She looks to one of her mages for a nod of approval, but is met instead with a blanched look of fear, mouth agape in terror. Enough talk. You will be trampled and forgotten. Only the voices of Nerat will remember your name.
More challenge to the fight. Right. I need to try a different weapon.
Oh, I'm terrible at this. How am I not dead yet? This weapon is like nipples on men. Useless. Anyone else want some of this? Wrong weapon for the job. I need to try something else.
On it.
Well, that did nothing, except tick them off.
This is useless. I should try something else. Take that!
Something's not right. I can sense it in my blood. This weapon is junk.
Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
For the Queen!
I got it.
Hold! Don't pursue them out of the citadel. Captain Tarkis lifts her sword triumphantly as she issues the order. Let those who have survived the edict in our blades leave to spread the word of our deeds. I thought we would blunt our last weapon, cracking Kyros' skulls before being overwhelmed, but the rabble was downright terrified by your edict, and the panic has claimed the giant mob. I almost feel sorry for the Kyros warriors who were brave enough to stand their grounds and fight us. Almost. You ought to travel to the Spire, get a view of your glorious aftermath from high up. I'm sure you'll enjoy seeing the enemy flee the valley. She salutes you with a smile. As always, good hunting with you, Stanislavere. Your work here is done. I'll oversee the wounded and the salvage. Gain a large bonus to accuracy. Greatly improves Lantry's thrown weapons attacks. Okay, sure. Why not? Shocked and demoralized by your display of power and the ease at which you dispatch their leader, the Scarlet Chorus fighters lose their nerve and scatter in defeat. The survivors carry with them the fearful murmurs of the powerful Archon Stannis Javert, a being of enormous might who can cast an edict with the same authority as the Overlord. Confusion sets in across the realm. Amidst the whispers and misinformation, one fact remains consistent: the Overlord's power has been challenged. You safely assume that such rumors are making their way back to Kyros. The high winds of your edict swept the air, dashing debris against your spire. Torrential rain falls, hitting hard enough to bruise bare skin. Lightning strikes the ground, endangering anyone out in the open. It isn't long before the storm begins to wane, slowly falling from a gale to a light rainstorm, and after a few days it becomes a simple breeze. Eventually the skies clear of your edict as your edict dissipates, releasing Vengeance Well from its grip. Okay, this went a lot easier than I anticipated. I thought I would have cursed the land forever, or whatever. That would be pretty hard on my conscience. You gather a small council of your closest allies and plan your next steps for the safety of your spire. No sooner do you get started than Kallio, Fatebinder of Tunon, pays a visit bearing an important message. I keep hearing about this little spire you've been calling your own. Nodding with a smirk, Fatebinder Kallio peers over the edge. Now that you've slaughtered those who take your lands, I think your claim is as official as it gets. Well, nice to see you, but how did you get up here? Isn't it obvious? She shakes her head with an agitated scowl. The biggest question is, how did you do the most convincing impression of the Overlord Teratus has ever seen? No one is entirely sure what to make of you these days, Stannis Javert. They all say you spoke an Edict of Storms, not a proclamation of an Edict of Kyros, but your own Edict of Storms, your own mystical storm. You're no mere Fatebinder, of that much we can all be certain. You've proclaimed and broken the Overlord's edicts perhaps one too many times. If I had known you could do this when I first met you, I would have maybe tried in earnest to kill you. I hope for the sake of Teratus that the right person has inherited this gift. I don't know what to make of you, Fatebinder. Proclaiming and breaking the Overlord's magic, claiming those awful towers, it should come as no surprise that an edict is within your grasp, but I still find room for surprise. You're powerful in ways that gang bosses and mages aren't. You commanded this place to do your bidding and unleashed something incredible on the world. This isn't the work of a Fatebinder. If anything, this is the work of an Archon. Beastwoman will follow Alpha from here to the ends of Tierlands and farther still. Will Paw prowl deep into the cold north, hunting armies of Kyros at Alpha's side. Together, Shadowhunter and Alpha will slaughter the whole of Prima's tribe. I don't have any idea how you're able to do this, but it isn't power that any scholar can wield. This is something else. You're not some ambitious hedge mage who've learned it out of a book. You're more like an Archon, where it just comes naturally. She shakes her head at you with a grin. I always knew you would be a delightful bit of trouble, but I didn't think you had a touch of the Overlord's power in you. Why didn't you tell me? Well, I genuinely didn't know I had it in me, to be honest. You didn't know if it would work, and you just decided to play with the arcane equivalent of a mountain tipping over. My confidence in you swells, Fatebinder. It's only natural to have doubted yourselves. The edicts have always been the magic of Kyros and Kyros alone. Anyone claiming to be able to cast an edict would be presumed crazy, and yet a sane man watching what you just did would see the power of the Overlord in your voice. Curious, she taps her chin in thought, looking at you from head to toe. Suppose you've got no reason to play fool. I'll say that however it is you came into that power, know that you've drawn the attention of the Overlord, so congratulations, I think? I come bearing an order directly from the Overlord. She clears her throat, her voice becoming somber and severe. Kyros has decreed two things. First, the Overlord has demanded that one and only one Archon is fit to rule the tiers. To that end, the Archons are to settle through death or dominance who is to be the one Archon to inherit the tiers. So the Overlord wants even more civil war. Oh, it gets better than that. With a smile, she tosses a small bit of metal your way, and when it is in your hand, you recognize it as a small brooch in the style of Kyros' insignia. Kyros has decreed you are the newest Archon. Fatebinder Kallio bows with an exaggerated flourish, so the other Archons now have orders to control or destroy you, and the other way around. Her face is beaming with a smile. See? This is why I try to avoid getting Kyros' attention. What if we don't fight? What if we ignore this order? If you wish to loaf on your hindquarters, have at it, but I doubt the other Archons will ignore this order. Every Archon in the tiers have been given free rein to slay the others. None are protected by Kyros' peace. It is no longer a crime for Asha or Nerat to kill you, or the other way around. Kyros knows, and rightly so, that enmities new and old will drive the Archons to mutual destruction. The Overlord only needs to remove the pretense of peace and watch the ensuing violence. She shrugs with a smile. Would you have prepared another do-or-die edict? What of the court? Have you heard what Tunon and Bledenmark think of this? As per usual, Tunon has the emotional range of Pumis, but Bledenmark seemed almost giddy. I think the old shadow is already putting names on his daggers. I was wondering if Bledenmark would hear this order and then promptly stab Tunon, but no, it would seem the Archon of Shadow is happy to serve Tunon. Makes sense. I've never known the old shadow to crave this kind of power. You'll have to deal with them too, and I fear greatly for how that will turn out. I imagine Tunon is too loyal to bow to you, and Bledenmark too proud to accept you as his better. She nods quietly for a long moment. There is no way to end this well for some of us. Well, I've heard enough, and I know what comes next. The other Archons will bend to my will, or die. Yeah, I am going to delight in killing the voices of Nerat. I think the world will be better for it. As for Graven Ashe, I hope maybe I can convince him to join me. I've heard enough, and I know what comes next. The other Archons will bend to my will, or die. The first step is deciding you won't bow to one of the other Archons. I wish you best of luck in your upcoming struggle. Know that when you come for Bledenmark and Tunon, I and the other Fatebinders won't interfere. Let's get one thing clear. I want no part of this little contest, Fatebinder. Sorry, Archon. I bow to you. The rest of the madmen can fight over the right to rule this mountainous shithole. I accept. Thank you. She bows with a graceful sweep of her arm and a curtsy. Just don't let Nerat get away with a bat of an eyelashes and a polite surrender. A question me and the other binders have been asking. Can you do it again? Nunaval believes in you. Another who will remain nameless takes a more cynical stance to the Overlord. Takes a more cynical stance that the Overlord has a hand so far up your ass that she can puppet your mouth and you couldn't cast the second edict if you tried. Me, I think you have it in you, or at least I like the idea of proclaiming it an edict of yours someday. Well, to be honest, if they just dissipate according to my whims, I might as well flaunt it a little bit. If I am going to fight the Archons, I might use the edict to weaken them. Oh, actually, that's a very interesting and cool thing to try, to see if I could command someone to speak out my own words, and then they would happen. Because if I can, then that would literally make me equal to the Overlord in this regard, and it would give me a delegation of power. I could send people to another corner of the realm and have them read it out. Now that you mention it, curiosity demands we try having you proclaim an edict of mine. Are you serious? You'd let me do that? But yet, to be honest, like, it's my words, right? Either it works as intended, fulfilling my will, or it doesn't. That's how it always worked with Kyros' edicts. No one could just write an edict of their own and read it. Nothing would happen. It was always Kyros' will and Kyros' words, just read through someone else. To Lantry, take a dictation, please. Quill in hand before you finish your request, Lantry reaches for his boldest red ink. You meant to say, Lantry, please record my second edict for all time and memory, right? Gladly. No, I won't proclaim an edict against my own people, although it's curious that I could. Address a proclamation against the Stone Sea and the Chorus headquarters of Cacophony. He writes your words with a deliberate, graceful penmanship. Yeah, let's give them this one again. It seemed to have worked well. With the edict complete, Kallio approaches the edge of your spire, and with as much projection as her voice can master, reads aloud your edict. And nothing happens. She slams her shoulders with a disappointed whimper. Well, it works when Kyros writes it down. Perhaps there's some trick to it that I haven't yet learned. But your power almost certainly worked when you used your own voice, so at least we know your voice is an essential part of invoking your powers. At least so far. I would imagine Kyros spoke a great number of edicts before learning how to write them down for others to proclaim. In truth, I am a bit relieved. While I relish the thought of being your harbinger of no non-negotiable death, I am not sure being the conduit for such an arcane force is something should be taken so lightly. Then again, perhaps your past proclamations are part of what set the seed of power in you. She taps her chin in thought. Anyways, it's been an honor to be the part of the experiment. She rolls the parchment proclamation in her satchel. I say we try this again some other day. Learn more about what you can do with your power, and someday I'll be your Herald of Doom. It'll be a date. With a nod, she begins to make her way to the exit. When you rule Terratus, look me up. If you're successful, I know I'll be in need of a new Archon to serve. I know I'm mostly sober, but just so we're clear, you did just issue an edict, right? Lantry taps his quill to his tongue. First you cast an edict, then this full-on war of the Archons. This whole chapter of the Chronicle is reading like fiction. So Kyros has ordered all Archons to fight until there is only the one strongest remains. I think we can now safely say that the Scarlet Chorus philosophy has been vindicated. A rumbling mutter stirs from beneath Barik's helmet, devoid of any cogent words. Alpha birthed his own words of power, like humans prima called Kyros, is better mystic than Broodmother to Kills in Shadow, than Stonestalker's 100 Blood, than Beastwoman Archon slaughtered by Mark of Shadows. She snores and grins savagely. Kills in Shadow knew Alpha was the most powerful human in Hall of Tears lands. Knows was not wrong. A curved claw taps the side of her snout. One thing, hesitating before she leaves, she taps a parchment she's been holding. All this talk of you being the second coming of the Overlord, and I almost forgot my duties. This is a court summon from Blood and Mark, Tunon's assassin. I suggest you read it carefully as part of your preparations. Your survival might depend on it. Good luck, Archon. So, what am I an Archon of? Because all of them get a title? Archon, we must speak before this goes any further than it already has. I found something interesting in the chronicle fragments. When you have a moment, perhaps you can indulge my curiosity. I know you've got a thing or two on your plate, but if you could make some time for me, a little bird has brought me some interesting news, and I would hate to have go stabbing people without you. Okay, so they all have business with me? Binder's son is Javert. Ari approaches you breathless. Our scouts spotted disfavored marching on Letian's crossing. The decree from Kyros must have put a fire under Graven Asher, but I would bet my spear he wants the town's iron under control. We need to gather our forces and strike back. Call a meeting of the coalition. You're right. I'll gather everyone to discuss our next steps. We can count on them accomplishing that much, though Kyros knows if they'll cooperate with each other. We'll be waiting for you at Ascension Hall. Wait, Trial of the Archon is completed? I haven't presented any of my thingamajigs to Tunon. Okay, I'll travel to Tunon last, because obviously it seems like it literally has final in its name. They very well might and should probably convict me for treason at this point. Like, you know, how much more directly can I challenge the Overlord? Okay, but I got 2 missives. So, Stilling the Storm. Dear Fatebinder Stanis Javert, your actions at Sentinel Stand has once again supplied the rumor mongers of the Bastard City with stories to peddle. Some seem to think that your cunning twist of legalese intended to display some great support for the people of Stalwart. That, of course, only leads to speculation about which people of Stalwart you intended to benefit, the unbridled upstarts or the corrupt old queens. Others foolishly believe that you unraveled the Overlord's edicts to prove that you could, as if a sliver of cleverness could bring Kyros low. As a scholar, I prefer primary sources to gossip, so allow me to ask you plainly, why did you choose to spare the child? Because it was the right thing to do. I don't care whether he agrees. I believe that. And I don't intend to hide that, because I am proud of the fact that I was able to do it this way. When faced with a choice to save a child or consign it to death, I chose to save it. That does not seem that strange a thing to me. Either decision would have fulfilled the Overlord's will. The last ruling house of Stalwart met its end in the Bladegrave. You need read nothing more into it than that. Yeah, have that response. I will only ask once. Kid, I take it you're aware of the Overlord's last decree. If not, let me give it to you straight. Now's a bad time to be an Archon in the tiers. Since most likely I'll be the one to cut you down, I thought I'd first explain. It's not my choice. But if it was, I would still choose to kill you. See you soon. Well, what would be something cordial? My dearest Mark. No, let's arrange a meeting. Maybe we can talk about it. Blood and Mark, if I am to die by your hand, I would prefer for it to be in battle, face to face, or would that be face to shadow? Regardless, at the risk of depriving you of the thrill of a good ambush, I would ask that we meet in person as peers, drawing blades openly. If that is what it is to come to. On the reverse of the parchment, I have mapped for you a location in the wilderness. Let us meet there and settle things. I'll provide you 2 days to scout the location in advance should you require. Hope to see you there. I'll do some training before I talk with my, mates. Peace off. Oh, it's you, Fatebinder. I'm so glad to witness your safe return. I swear it. What will it be? What do you sell? I've forgotten. Mostly I just want to sell my things, because my inventory is getting kind of cramped. Okay, let's get some training.
Sorry, I can't.
Well, those are not for me, really. Well, I guess I can do that at the least.
Will do.
Wow, 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 wow. That's quite a lot of supplies. Before I go and talk with my allies, I'll just cross the spires, the other ones, do some training, as well as pick up the items that have been made. Plans for Heart's Blood. After combing through old scrolls, the sages at your library discovered references to the Overlord's first assassin. This Archon, the Archon of the Blood, was destroyed when Blood and Marks ascended to become an Archon of Shadow. The records indicate that this Archon wielded a dagger that could drain life from his foes. Your sages believe that with the right sigils, you can recreate the Heart's Blood. Okay, research. Oh, you can research more edicts. Sure, let's do that. The Blood Chanter stares at you with a vacant expression. Her head tilts to the side. There is a note pinned to her chest. The words are scrawled in big childish letters. We just adore you. We just adore your home, Fatebinder. Keep up the good work. Voices. The parchment bursts into flames that consume it in an instant. Just kidding, Fatebinder. I didn't mean to frighten you. I hope you come ready for training. I guess I'll train Frost or something, or Lore maybe. Control lightning. Sure.
I knew there was a reason I followed you around.
Right.
Okay. Reforged head of cairn. Let's equip that.
I've got.
I found these plants and this metal in the old walls. Can you make it for me? These are the plants for the scorn, and you have the metal we need to make it. I found this helm in the Rust Canyons. What can you tell me about it? This is the Hawk's Eye helm. With this, I should be able to recreate it. What can you make for me? Okay, an artifact dagger. Might be cool for like verse. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. The handle of the heart's blood is tightly wrapped with cords of severed human tendons, and the blade itself is curved at an angle that encourages open wounds. The crude design was the product of a mage who translated the pre-Empire runes on the surface of a battered shield. To his surprise, he discovered a poem, though much of the context and meaning were lost. Heart's blood, urgent to spill, open, drink. Grant us the boon of your delight. The mage recognized the rune for blood to correspond with a contemporary archon, suggesting there was power in the name. He spent the remainder of his career puzzling out the theory behind the blade that fit the shield, an effort that yielded the early properties of the weapon, and a mystery left dormant until now. Those who hold to the heart's blood are consumed by waves of eagerness, and the need to plunge the blade into an enemy guts at times becomes overwhelming. Whatever dark heritage first conceived of this misshapen weapon, it is now awake to embrace its destiny.
Right.
But I guess let's just do this. Wow, once again, that's quite a lot of stuff. Fatebinder, you look just awful. I mean that as a compliment. Pitiable is he who has nothing to improve upon. What do I need to take to feel better? I would love to help, but I need some time to replenish my stock. Come back later. Okay, let's visit my last spire, the one that has the training grounds. Kid, if I haven't said it before, I'll say it now. I'm going to enjoy killing you, and while I would love to carve out your heart and feed it to the darkness in a remote spot of a shaded world, unlike you, I'm not dumb enough to act on a whim. Can't wait for the adjudicator's execution order. I'll be anticipating your arrival at the court. Don't snuff the lights. Blood and Mark, Archon of Shadows, and Court Blade. Okay.
I got it.
The Fatebinder is here. Look alive, everyone. The man before you offers you a nod as you approach. He meets your eyes hesitatingly and pauses before speaking. Thank you for having me, Fatebinder. My name is Riz. I'm here because I'm good at two things, killing my foes and seeing where the currents flow. I'd rather not get caught on the wrong side of history, so I'm humbly here to offer my sword. I am well versed in many forms of combat and can help you stay versatile during a fight, should you wish it. Why did you choose to follow me now? These spires have towered over us for generations. Whoever made them was far beyond us, mere peasants on the ground. They were objects of wonder and legend in Tearsman's stories, and now you have claimed them. He looks directly at you, conviction in his eyes. That's reason enough for me. What can I do here? If you want to hone your fighting skills, or perhaps learn some new ones, this is the place. But really, the spire is your domain. What you do and who you invite is your choice. Okay, what do you train? Oh, you train combat skills, but only very slightly. Interesting. So what's the benefit of that? Like, whoever Barik is over 50 in everything he uses, so you're kind of a crap, like, or is it 150? Am I just blind? The rugged soldier naps to an immediate salute, his fist clanging against his breastplate. Graven Asher protects. He gives you a mixed expression and locks his feet together. Of course, I shouldn't expect you to engage with the rank and file. Apologies for my assumption, if my assumption compromised the dignity of the court. No, I'm just surprised that you haven't heard that I betrayed Kyros. Like, this game is a bit schizophrenic in its writing. I couldn't be more proud to stand atop the spire with a true friend of the Legion. I've been away from my home for too long. It's good to see the north from this vantage. Now that you're up here, what's your plan? I am oathbound, and among other things, that means I am a distinguished scout and hunter. I intend to do what I do best. If you're interested in pelts, it would be my honor to scour the wilderness beyond the spire and lay some traps. Anything I bring back is yours by right. Do you have anything? You do. Fatebinder, Alpha has come to train with Beastwoman, yes? Her eyes gape wide in a sharp-fanged grin. Yet they're all kind of crap at training. Like, no, wait, this is 150, okay. So Barik and Verse might actually benefit from that. Hail, Fatebinder, and welcome back to your spire. I must say, the view from up here is quite impressive. The soldier scratches the back of his head and shrugs. I never thought I would see the day when I greeted an agent of Turon so happily, but then I never thought I would see the top of the spire either, so I guess we're all about breaking the tradition these days. I'm sure that Turon has filled your head with all sorts of lessons, and the details would probably scare me half to death, but we need you in peak form, and you need every means of defending yourself at your disposal. What do you say? Interested in some training on top of your training? Interested in sparring? My nerves are all knotted up from just standing here, and I could use a distraction. Let's go. Okay.
Sorry,
I thought that was actual sparring. A pleasure to see you today, Fatebinder. Okay, I think that's everyone. The tidal waves of rock and rust have clearly spread their destruction across the region. Okay, I'm going to save because changing companions is notoriously fickle in this game. When in combat, companions near you gain a bonus to each of their attributes. Cool. Sirin's voice fractures armor. Enemies in the area cannot defend against Sirin's voice and have their armor sundered for a short time.
On it.
The sage before you is distracted, half murmuring to herself while clutching the half-burnt remains of a scroll. Her hands are in motion, tracing the curves of some unknown rune. You suddenly hear the high-pitched cry of a carrier raven as it plummets to the ground, its feathers completely burnt away. She looks from the noise and notices you. Well, that wasn't quite what I was expecting, but I suppose that's the risk with a scrap of the original text. She uncorks a vial and splashes its content on the bird, which remains completely still on the ground. I suppose it would have to be alive for this to work. Another lesson learned. She turns to you to give you her full attention, her smile broad and energetic. Fatebinder, I may be here to offer my knowledge, but I shall forever be a student. Unfortunately results, but truly fascinating, wouldn't you agree? I hope you won't mind the occasional experiment. Of course, I'm here to provide you with whatever arcane knowledge you seek. What do you think of this spire? More impressive than I imagined so many times before from the ground. It's a bit breezy, though. That's a pain when your profession demands the obsessive collection of scrolls that are all too happy to scatter in the winds. What kind of experiments are you interested in? Must I restrict myself? Think about how magic would go undiscovered if we had to limit ourselves, but I must confess a certain affinity for electricity applied to a variety of objects. Even if the results don't surprise, they always satisfy. The old walls extend from the ruined lands out to the southern sea. The dark-furred beast woman snuffs and quivers, panting lightly at your approach. She hunches low, long gingly fingers caressing the ground.
Alpha to kills and shadows smells good. Like mountain dew. Makes beast woman blood stir. Run hot. Makes beast woman want to hunt, bite, rot. Little Chitterbird has pledged to Alpha of kills and shadow. Is good for Chitterbird's chance of survival, but bad for beast woman's ears.
She rubs the ridge of her pointed ear, eyes lost in thought.
Fatebinder wants beast woman?
Had any good hunts lately?
Good, yep. And many more than 5. Found pack of rot-smelling Coruscant Apex lands. Humans tried to scamper flee on sight, but beast woman was already in full sprint. Legs were pumping, blood was surging fast, heart throb. Flicked claws and slashed through backs, ears filled with screams.
She pants happily at the memory, tongue lolling between her teeth.
Was fun for beast woman.
Okay, come with me.
I'm ready.
I will return to our holdfast at once.
Do you still have your weapon? You do. Because they tend to sometimes disappear, which is also a bit frightening. Hey Binder, let me get something off my chest. Verse nods to grab your attention. I burn inside. When I dance, it's like I'm trying to let out a fire to quench it in blood. Instead, I just end up stoking the flames. Shit, did any of that make any sense? Yeah, I get the feeling you're upset about something, and that the relentless killing and, slaughter is like to try to drown some kind of a feeling. I think I follow? I've always had such a strong connection to my Furies. The bond made me feel, I don't know exactly, like a part of something. Now it feels like they are in me. They rise up when I dance, each time a little more restless. When we were going against Crocus and Irisa, I could almost hear them, like they were whispering to me, tugging from somewhere deep. And even I can't deny all of this sounds a bit, him. Yeah, the voices of Nerad. Kyros' bloody balls, yes, the voices of Nerad. The thought alone I could be anything like the voices makes me want to flay myself. She inhales deeply, chest rising, then lets it out through her teeth in a low, prolonged hiss. Well, if you don't turn into him, don't be like him. What exactly are you suggesting? The right corner of her lip twists. Force yourself to stay human, which is maybe, ease on the murder a bit, or at least ease on enjoying it as much. What does that even mean? You cast an Edict of Kyros. Are you still human? Is Graven Ashe, or Tulon for that matter? Seems to me it's not a choice you get to make. One more thing before I call it a day. What is it? As we spoke to Essa, I slipped a scout some rings to keep an eye on a place and send word if anything out of the ordinary happened. She cracks her knuckles between her calloused palms. Apparently, there have been some strangers lurking about. I would like to head back to the river's break and see if we can grab one, maybe dig a little knowledge out of him. But in a directly out of the head kind of way. She frowns sheepishly. We'll check it out. I'll make it somewhat of a priority. I will do it before my main quest, which makes it a priority, kind of. Thanks. Who knows, maybe we'll dig something up that we can use against the Archons. Let's get moving. The war is not over yet. Are you trying to piss everyone off, or are you just doing this for fun? I'm not judging either way, I'm just curious. Casting an Edict on Vengeance well is a good way to shine a beacon in yourself or paint a target. Verse crosses her arms and smiles. Well, I saved your skin, didn't I? Sure did, for now. Like I said, I'm not trying to prod you or suggest you made the wrong call. As someone who likes to stay discreet until she has an opening chance to strike the killing blow, I find your public gesture of dominance quaint, charming in a dumb way.
At your service, Fatebinder. What do you need? And I seem to be missing a gang.
I will meet you at the Spire.
Can't do that.
I have come to regard knowledge as a kind of curse, and I better understand the Overlord's injunctions against too much of it. In knowing why my armor clings to me, I think I began feeling it grow into me. Has it buried itself deeper within me? Or do I imagine this?
He sighs.
Kyros has ordered that the Archons determine a ruler of the tiers from among themselves. This is the time to go to Archon Ash, submit to him, and beg clemency.
No? No. Like, either he will bow to me or he will die. Those are two things that might happen. I'm not doing that. I'll consider our options as they become clearer.
I understand. Better to make a tactical decision with all available information at hand. Do not mistake hesitation for consideration, though. One reveals new paths forward. The other closes paths formerly available.
Oh, big ideas from the mobile armory. What, did the Iron Marshal tell you that?
Yes, she did. I shall follow your lead, Archon. For now.
I can scarcely believe it. You proclaimed an edict. You wielded the power of the Overlord, for a moment perhaps, but it was enough to turn the tide of battle in our favor. That simply doesn't happen. The Overlord's magic is as unknowable as anything on Terratus, as mysterious and, well, I was about to say unapproachable as the Spires, but you clearly dispelled that notion. What do you suggest I do next? It might be too late to mend your ties with Kyros' hierarchy. If you continue to prove your worth, then perhaps you could be invited back to the fold. I suspect Kyros needs some time for introspection, as do we all. Well, to be honest, this can only mean trouble for us. Kyros doesn't tolerate competition, and I've been rebelling against him for some time now, so if anything, that just adds pressure on taking me down. No, indeed. I wouldn't want to stand in your place when the day of reckoning comes, but standing next to you might prove just as dangerous. I have questions for you.
What can I do for you?
Well, apparently I don't have questions, but you're going with me.
If you would have me travel at your side...
I'll tack homeward. See you there.
Okay, let's do some training. I look forward to returning to Iron Hearth. The sooner the better. So, one-handed. You're using one-handed. Because two-handed weapons are one-handed for you. You're using dual wield. I'll put a couple points into parry for Barik.
I feel much improved.
There was a guy who thought parry, right? There has to be. Okay, dodge is also good. But I would like parry for Barik. Okay, let's... Strike 2 times with basic attacks while health below 70%. Cool. Improves unarmed. But wait, does that only work on unarmed? Natural weaponry. It might be, so to be honest... Let's get more into this. Gain accuracy and damage with disengagement. Reduces recovery and hit precision when wounded. Gains a bonus to grace precision, grace defense, sweeping death. Sweeping the target, knocking them prone. Okay. Bonus to precision. Moves quickly, too quickly for enemies to engage her. Okay. While a hostile effect expires on Barik, he gains a bonus to endurance, will, and magic defense. Barik becomes an intimidating force, reduces resolve. This is cool. Because enemies can come to me. I'll take this. Although I have to remember to use it. I haven't been using any stances, so the chances are not good, to be honest, on that front.
I got it.
Without looking at you, Sirin releases a long, dejected sigh. Is something bothering you? You seem sad.
No. Everything's fine, Archon. But I appreciate you asking.
She wipes her nose, glancing away.
I've made some progress on that ancient musical score. I'm almost completely sure it's the same music I hear in that crystal we found.
You've made a breakthrough. Seems like that would be a good thing.
It's simply not what I was hoping for, I suppose. No matter.
She shakes her head.
This music, I think it describes something fundamental. About magic, I mean. Or at least about the magic of the old walls.
She chews on her lower lip, which means Cairn didn't leave it behind for you.
Yeah, I thought he might have. But I was just being a foolish, silly, stupid little girl.
Well, to be honest, don't be so hard on yourself. It's human to hope, and sometimes hopes get dashed. She says nothing for a moment, slowly nodding, her arms wrapped tightly about herself.
Thank you, Archon. Sometimes I forget that the Overlord's minions can occasionally act like decent human beings.
Why so interested in Cairn?
We used to know each other back at Fort Threshold. He was kind and clever, and I thought we were friends. The lasting kind that might last lifetimes. But then he left me there, and Nerat sent me off to sing up its troops. I used to pen him missives, each long and longing and poetic, mostly about myself. But then, well, none of that matters anymore.
Well, what you discovered sounds like a pretty incredible thing to know about.
I guess. I mean, sure, it's something nobody else knows yet. Except maybe Kyros. Maybe not even her. I'm certain that weaving this song into my own music will strengthen it. Or at least, let more of my power slip through this stupid hat. Who knows? Maybe the old walls will hear my songs, and then I'll be able to awaken Spires too, or sing edicts, or both.
Your voice will shake the tears. Let's give her some encouragement. Because the other responses are kind of mean, and like self-servingly gloating.
The tears? Don't underestimate me. I'll shake this whole ugly world. But truly, thank you for all of this. I'm indebted to you. I'll add my power to your cause, I promise.
Anything to add?
Hello, Fatebinder.
She greets you quietly, face drawn. Her countenance presents a world-weary exhaustion.
What do you need?
Oh, you have a way with words, Sirin. Were you instructed on how to speak with others? Of course, one of the only good things that came out of my time with Kyros was my education. My teachers insisted I'd be trained on the proper way to speak with the royal court. I was frequently mistaken for someone older, and I think I got away with a lot more than I could have otherwise. For all other failings, they made sure I was properly educated. My favorite class was learning how to talk people into doing what you wanted without using magic. Can you believe that? Why in the world would you risk it? But it was a fascinating subject. It's interesting that for her powers of suggestion are, the magical suggestion, are so innate that she cannot fathom the art of regular persuasion. Could you teach me some tricks? Certainly, Fatebinder. I don't remember how much of my old training I'll remember. This is a stupid sentence. Who wrote that? But I'm sure I could help you out. She leans close, and in the softest of caresses, her lips brush your ear. Oh, gain subterfuge as well. Words or sounds indiscriminate to the human ear, a language not meant to be understood by any but the Archon of Song, beyond the breadth of discernment, but inescapably compelling, binding, gut-wrenchingly painful on a single lilt? What? That euphorically fulfilling a mere in tone later, you blink and realize the massy, spine-tingling murmuring in your ear has fallen silent. Sirin draws back with a satisfied sigh, beaming at you, and the perfect image of a sigil, the invocation of her name, runs itself into the deep depths of your mind.
Hello, Fatebinder. What do you need?
Well, apparently nothing.
Can't do that. Right.
Hail, mighty Archon.
Ebb salutes you with a nod, pounding her staff to the ground as she stands in attention.
Your newfound power runs in the face of what I thought I knew. All my life, I've been told Kyros alone can issue an edict. And yet, here you are, proclaiming mastery of the lands just like the Overlord.
Well, I can replicate his powers, but I'm not like the Overlord.
You mean her powers?
Whatever. Like, has been left a bit unclear. Sure, might be hers.
You say that now. Let's see if you still feel this way when the reality sinks in, and your mastery of this newfound power solidifies. The world now bows to your mere utterance. Each day you will grow stronger, while the world becomes weaker in comparison. Put another way, if I could do what you do, the world would be at the mercy of my depravity. Cursing the name of Ebb, Archon of Fecund Fluids. Let's hope your moral sextant isn't as crooked as my own. Your newfound power runs in the face of what I thought I knew. All my life, I've been told Kyros alone can issue an edict. And yet, here you are, proclaiming mastery of the lands just like the Overlord.
Perhaps there are others besides me and the Overlord.
I should certainly hope not. Tyranny isn't large enough for Kyros, and it's certainly going to get very interesting if the two of you start waving your edicts to and fro.
I would have felt if someone else were proclaiming edicts. I knew when this one activated the Spire. From what I know of Kyros, the Fatebinder is definitely a wrinkle in some carefully laid plans.
If anyone has cast an edict other than Kyros in the last 431 years, I'm certain we would know. There would have been witnesses and evidence that outran Kyros' march west, and the sages would have heard of it.
Your newfound power runs in the face of what I thought I knew. All my life, I've been told Kyros alone can issue an edict. And yet, here you are, proclaiming mastery of the lands just like the Overlord.
It's fortunate then that you are sworn to me.
If watching you slowly descend into power-hungry madness is the definition of good fortune, I consider me blessed. Your newfound power runs in the face of what I thought I knew. What is it you need?
Finishing the last pen strokes of a note running the length of his arm, Lantry looks you up with a nod.
Not to steal your glorious day in the sun, but I must say, now all my notes on you are suddenly worth 10 times their weight in iron. My journals will melt the linens off the ladies, I tell you. What's that you say? Buxom, nubile lasses with an interest in old men who know history. You need a definitive tractatus on the trials and tribulations of the Archon of the Tears? Ha! Well, you're in luck. I think one can safely conclude that you have the Overlord's attention, and that of the Tears. Soon, all of Tyranny. You realize, I trust, I hope, that nobody other than Kyros has ever cast an edict until you.
Are you sure history hasn't just been edited or forgotten, those who could rival the Overlord?
Well, I have a hard time believing that someone would cast an edict and not have it noticed.
Yes, but maybe a rival casts an edict, Kyros kills them, and then takes credit for the events.
Well, as of now, I've seen with my own eyes that the Overlord is not unique in this regard. And I suppose you're all the evidence I need to throw suspicion on the record. Now, if you are right, that implies the Overlord has no qualms silencing and murdering those who pose a threat. In your case, at least my written record of you might survive. See? I'm being optimistic.
Happen to know when Kyros first cast an edict?
Good question. In parts north, it's commonly held that Kyros' Edict of Dust was the first, but it was cast in the year 11. It was just the first edict to ripple across the whole of Tyranny. If you lived somewhere that used to have antelope, you probably think that's the first edict of the Overlord. But here, the answer is given to us by the Overlord's own sense of posterity. Year 0 of Kyros' calendar is said to correspond to the day Kyros went from warlord to wearer of many crowns, a victory won when the first Edict of Storms shocked both the Cloud Barons and the realm of Medrev to capitulate.
Antelope, is that an animal? So I guess my character has never seen one.
Yes, or it was at least, until they were all wiped out by the Edict of Dust. Or that's as best we've pieced it together from the records. From what we've gathered from their skeletons, they were some sort of mute beast man that ran on 4 legs.
Antelope are not like beast women.
She counters, flexing her claws once, twice and 3 times in annoyance.
Antelope have hooves for fleeing. Beast women have claws for killing. Antelope don't eat meat, are spooked easily, are large but helpless, lumber but lack reason, are prey. Silverback tribe hunted antelope extinct.
She sniffs and flicks the sage a pointed stare.
Old Ink Mystic tells many strange, stupid tales. Thinks to know everything.
I suppose I'm more of an expert in living things, like birds, and can't quite confirm or deny what you're saying, but just forget I said anything.
Also safe to assume that Kyros will try to solve me in some fashion.
At the same time, if you really were a meaningful threat, you'd have already been the victim of an edict, or bled in Mark's daggers. So this has me rather curious. Just what does the Overlord wish to do with you?
We'll find soon enough. By the way, I found something of interest in the chronicle text we recovered from the Bastard Wound. More bits of creative history? Despite the madness of late, I've been finding time to read further. I keep reading the improved histories, and it sends me into a fit, but I can't stop. I'm obsessed with the feeling of righteous indignation, and probably need help. Anyway, Lexine left a lot of notes on the margins, and they led me to believe that she stashed some tomes before she arrived at the Bastard Wound. You found a message, explain. Back in the day, as it were, she and I had a shorthand for communicating in code. Lexine had many notes to herself written in some corners, and I can read her scribbles. She mentions another hiding spot, but to decipher the directions, I would need a copy of the Histories of Sunder revised. If my old cottage is still intact, I have a copy there. You have a cottage? I thought sages lived in the Vellum Citadel. Oh sure, but most of us elder sages got persnickety and long for some solitude after decades cloistered with the others. Besides, I did field study, so I was rarely expected to be anywhere at a given time. You need one more book so that you can find one more book? This is ridiculous. No, it actually makes perfect sense. This is all I need to hear. Let's go find it. Perfect. I'll lead the way whenever you're ready. Okay, so who has a quest for me? Because if someone doesn't, speak with Graven Asha about Barik's condition. Okay. Why would he even speak with me at this point? This is stupid. This is for Verse, Lantry's side. Okay, so I'll exchange Kills in Shadow for Lantry then.
Greetings, Archon. How may I assist?
But first I'll save, because it has a tendency to break.
Greetings, Archon.
We'll wait for a short while.
Okay, and then it's Barik, Lantry, and Verse that have quests for me. But I'll continue next time, because this episode has been long enough. So I'll save and end it for now. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!